We are so incredibly back. I get to read something good again. Hello, everyone. I'm just some reader, and welcome to One Man's Book Trash, where I dive into what people don't want to find some real treasure. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 2009 Touhou Project fan book, Rainy Face. When I found this at the thrift store, I couldn't believe my eyes. Why is this all in Japanese? What's with the cute anime girls on the cover, and why is it so thin? And then turning it to the back, I see Touhou Project Fanbook 7? Just who did this belong to, and how did it get to the States? I'm not sure, but let's dive into Rainy Face, shall we? This is gonna be a little, might be a little finicky to say here, but, we'll make it work, huh? First off, if you don't know what Touhou Project is, let me give you a brief rundown, because we're going to need to know who a couple of these characters are. Don't worry, I barely knew anything going into it too. We're in the same boat. Touhou is a series of bullet hell shoot-'em-up video games by Team Shanghai Alice. And I use team here pretty loosely because there's only a single team member named Zun who works on it and runs the whole shebang, basically, aside from some of the spin-off games. If you don't know what a bullet hell shmup is, just look at this footage right here. Oh my god. Oh my god. Can you dodge that? Oh, whoa. From what I understand, Touhou Project is about a shrine priestess named Reimu Hakude who goes around solving supernatural incidents and dealing with yokai in the realm called Gensokyo. And of course, all the yokai are cute anime girls. Duh. If you've seen any version of Bad Apple, this is what the music video is based on. There's also a huge fan scene for Touhou where people make stuff like music, video games, and of course, fan comics, also known as doujinshi or doujins in Japan. That's exactly what Rainy Face is. It's a fan comic by an artist named Misaki. I've linked to her socials in the description below. She's posted to her Twitter as recently as this year for the Pokemon 30th anniversary, but she's only posted to her Pixiv a decade ago in 2016. God, 2016 was a decade ago? Though based on her Twitter, I bet she's busy taking care of her child. Her Twitter bio does say she's a mother of one after all. Now, onto the doujin. First of all, I'm not the best at Japanese, but I did take a year and a half of it at college and I can trudge my way through most things, as long as I have a dictionary nearby. Jisho.org, my beloved. So if I misunderstand anything, that's my bad. So what I did was write down all of the dialogue in Japanese, then translated it to English as best I could. And I think I got the gist of it, and I can tell what's going on, I think. Hopefully. Now let's talk art. Misaki's art is so cutesy. I mean, just look at it. My copy is actually colored on the first page, but not because it's supposed to. Whoever owned this before me colored it in colored pencil? I bet a child owned this before me and just colored it. I bet a child owned this before me and just colored it in themselves. It's not on model to how the character Eiki Shiki is supposed to look like at all. I mean, we can see her on the cover. But it's a charming thing about my copy of the comic. I like finding books with some sort of writing in them, even though some people think it a sin, because it tells me something about the previous author of this book and a little glimpse into their psyche and their lives. Like here you can see how this child pictured Eiki Shiki, with either brown or purple hair, a red hat for sure, yellow dress, green gloves, brown boots, and a teal or blue scarf. You can also see that on the second page too, with a lot of blue here and a lot of purple here. But who exactly is Eiki Shiki? From what I gleaned from the Touhou Wiki, thank you Touhou Wiki, Shiki is the judge of souls and decides where the deceased go after their death. She's also our protagonist of the comic. It begins with her walking in a snowy place and she came to see something, which I think is a character that I'll get to in a bit. The Shiki mentions that it's cold and deserted and that a different character, not this one, named Komachi is waiting for her on a boat. I'll get to Komachi a bit later. Shiki then trips and falls and then realizes she tripped on a frozen toad? And then realizes there's frozen toads anywhere. That can only mean one thing, that Cirno is behind it. Now, back to the Touhou Wiki. Cirno, or I guess it's Cirno because it's Cirno in the Japanese. Anyway, Cirno is an ice fairy, and even in her description on the wiki, it says she's known for playing pranks, and even freezing toads, just like in this comic. She also thinks she's way stronger than everyone else. Now, Cirno is here, but she's sad and crying. So Shiki wants to have a little chat with her. I think Shiki is here to get Cirno to stop playing pranks. Cirno explains why she's so sad. It's because it's winter, and in winter, her friends are super busy and don't want to play with her. So there's nothing for Cirno to do, and she gets really bored. Then Shiki says it's because most fairies and yokai like warm weather, so you can't really blame them. But Cirno says that since all of her friends are busy, they must hate her. I think Shiki laughs a little bit here because Cirno like takes it as an insult and thinks that Shiki is making fun of her. But Shiki says that Cirno has a lot of good friends and Shiki's actually jealous of Cirno. Cirno doesn't really get it at first, but Shiki explains that she doesn't have any friends. Cirno is really acting like a kid here, asking questions. Maybe being childish is a part of her character? She asks why Shiki has no friends, and then asks what she did to make all of her friends hate her. Because Cirno assumes that Shiki had friends, but doesn't have any anymore. Why wouldn't she have friends? She must have had friends at some point, right? But then Shiki says that because she's a judge of souls, no one comes near her because they're all innately afraid of her. Cirno then asks why she's different because she's near Shiki and isn't afraid of her at all. Shiki then begins to say Cirno's a little something. I'm not sure what that something is exactly. It starts with Nibu and ends like she's cutting herself off, like she doesn't mean to say something. And instead says that Cirno is the strongest. So we have the strongest friend haver of today versus the strongest no friend haver in history. Anyway, if anyone knows what Shiki's trying to say here, you can let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe. Shiki continues and says that she also doesn't make friends because she doesn't want them to get in the way of her judgment. She's supposed to be impartial after all. She doesn't want her personal feelings to cloud it if, say, she's supposed to judge one of her friends. Then Cirno asks more questions. Then you're always alone? That's right. Isn't that lonely? Yes, but that's my duty. Whoa. Shiki then goes on to say that Cirno has a lot of friends and that's wonderful, and because of that she should stop playing pranks. But then Cirno isn't having any of it! That it must be boring without friends, that it's boring to be alone. She knows that firsthand after all, she's alone almost all the time. Then Cirno says people get mad and yell at her for playing pranks, and that they say that she only does it to get attention. While that's probably true, she flips it right back onto those people, saying that wouldn't them trying to get Cirno to stop playing pranks just mean that they also want attention and don't want to be lonely because they're going to meet with Cirno? Isn't that why Shiki is there? Then Shiki is thinking, dang, I think I underestimated this kid. She's spitting straight facts. How do I even respond to that, man? And then it just gets so cutesy. Cirno gives Shiki a frozen camellia flower because all of Cirno's friends have one. So when the flower eventually melts, Shiki will have to come back to Cirno so Cirno can freeze it again. That way, Shiki has a reason to come back to her, and she holds Shiki's hand. And even cuter, in Shiki's thoughts, she says that Cirno's hand is cold, because she's an ice fairy, of course, but it's also still warm. Aww. And then we cut back to the boat with Komachi. Komachi is a Shinigami, or death god. She's essentially a psychopomp figure that brings dead souls to Shiki to be judged, and she even has a big scythe. The wiki says she's a chatterbox that slacks at her job, and that certainly seems to be the case here. Komachi says it's rare seeing Shiki get all chummy with a fairy. And why doesn't Shiki have any friends? Aren't Komachi and Shiki friends? And then there's a silly joke where Shiki says, no, Komachi is a subordinate and she should know her place. And then the comic ends with a final thought from Shiki looking at the flower and thinking, when this ice melts, let's meet again, my little friend. That's just so cute. The Judge of Souls, who said makes no friends, actually made a friend. When Shiki was talking about not making any friends earlier, she used the word doujin to refer to a friend. And at the end of the comic, when she refers to Cirno, she uses the same word doujin. Is other Touhou media as cute as this? I hope so, then I can read more of it. All in all, I'm going to give Rainy Face 1 thumbs up. I really liked this little comic. I think it's all about how you're not really alone as long as you have friends. That's basically what Shiki told Cirno earlier in the comic, but Shiki wasn't practicing what she preached. It's saying that no matter who you are, you still deserve friends. That's a good lesson I think anyone can enjoy. Unless you're a cold, heartless villain who hates joy and happiness. Now, I would give this comic 2 thumbs up, but I don't know how you're gonna get your hands on it. Like, other than, I don't fucking know, going to Comiket in 2009? If it even was there. I don't know where this was sold, man. Plus, if you don't know Japanese, you're gonna have trouble actually reading it. But whether you do or not, Misaki's chibi art style is so cute and expressive and does a really good job at conveying the story, even if you don't know a lick of Japanese. Just look at the first page of my copy. Whatever child owned this before me loved the art enough to color it in themselves. But that's going to be it for today's episode of One Man's Book Trash. I've got a lot of secondhand books to get into, and also some ideas for other book-related content in the future. So join me next time on One Man's Book Trash as we return to Mossflower Wood with the second book of the Redwall series, Mossflower. The story behind the saga, the first quest of Martin the Warrior. I'm so excited to read this. I'll see you there!